I hope you can all hear me, that anybody is at this moment watching. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, we're at it again. Another Blade Talk Tuesday live. This is fun. All right, so as the title suggests, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to be discussing my complete, not complete really, but my knife collection as it stands right now, as far as what I have. And this was requested a little bit ago because mainly when I did it the first time, I didn't really get good close-ups of like the custom knives. I feel like I did pretty good on like some of the budget knives and some of the, axes and saws and other tools. But as far as custom knives, I know I did not get good close-ups of them. So I apologize for that. In addition to that, there are some new ones. Some of them I've sold already and collected quite a few more, and I have more on the way too. How you doing, Joe? It's good to have you. Might just be me and you for a while. So, as far as a formula, organization, a method to this, do you think we should go by company? So, in other words, like go through all the LT Wright knives first, and then go through all the black feather knives, that kind of thing? Or do you think it should be something a little less organized and just randomly pull things out and talk about them? Keep looking over here because I've got my computer set like right off the screen right there, so you can look at it. That way I can keep track of comments if and as they come in. There's a little sneak peek of this in the last live video we did. This is my knife box. You can see all the stickers on there. Mainly I've been collecting them over the years in order of my liking. I don't know if I can actually do them in order of my liking. That would be a really difficult thing to organize. We'd sit here for an hour, just me trying to make a decision. Maybe what I'll do is separate out like the collectors and the quote unquote users. That way you can kind of see the ones that I consider more rare, more special, more unique, and the ones that I'm like, let's beat this thing up. Just get a good look at all those stickers. Let's see what you did. Any more hiding on the other side? No. Okay. These ones in boxes back here are like special knives, collector's knives, doubled up knives, those types of things. Yeah, I will pull them out blind for now. I do already have it slightly organized because I was going through a few of them. So like all of the, well, most of the ones that have Kydex or plastic sheaths are in the top. And then most of the ones with leather sheaths are in the bottom. And the reason I do that is to make sure that the plastics and Kydex don't scuff up the leather. I don't mind messed up leather, but I'd like it to happen naturally from actual use, not from sitting in a box. Okay, so this is one that we've already talked about last video and the video before that. This is the Grey Wolf Knives Woodlore style. Let's see if I can get my camera. You can see it's got a nice Coke bottle shape. This is one that I've cleaned up, try to make look a little more nice, a little more fancy. This is a very nice knife. Haven't used it yet officially, but handle is extremely comfortable. And the reason I went for this one was because when I was on the Bushcraft USA forum, I just threw it out there. Hey, what do you guys think about woodlore knives? You know, who makes a good one, since there's no way I can afford an actual true Ray Mears woodlore. And someone reached out and said, hey, I'd sell you this one. Sell you this one, good price. So I just went for it because it's rare to get such a good price, such a good knife, in such a classic look and style. So Grey Wolf knife, stick that guy right there on the table. Okay. This one is one you will all recognize, and hopefully more than just Joe and Sean have ordered them. This is the Humpback knife that I designed. A2 steel. Oatmeal burlap handles with black liners made by Papa Bear Knives. I'm not going to talk much about this one, mainly because, like I said, this is my design. It feels kind of weird to talk about my knife too much. What I will say is that Alan is doing exceptional work with these, always open for critiques and improvements. So, you know, for instance, this particular one, handle's a little thin for my liking. So I talked to Alan and to send it back to him. He's going to round it out a bit so that it's less rectangular. Just a personal preference thing. Those kind of SE style handles and Ontario style handles, I'm not a huge fan of. So, hey, Justin. Great to have you here. Yes. So, Humpback knife. Stick that there on the table. Let's see. All right. So, here's another custom knife that I was actually sent to test out and try out on the channel. This is a Seven Forge Knives Nordic Bushcrafter. It's an 8670 steel. It's a convexed saber grind. Litz light handles, black liners. Can you hear my baby in the background? Can you hear that? It's a very narrow blade with a thick spine. So it works really well for splitting as a wedge. I'm thinking that maybe if I sit this, you could see it better. Like trying to figure out the focus point. Customer service on these guys' knives is great. It's another one where I reached out and had a couple opinions to share, thoughts to improve it, and they worked at it very quickly and got it right back to me. And now it's working great, and I really, really dig it. Down, or does it have a secondary bevel? On this knife, we have a secondary bevel. You can see that guy right there, secondary bevel. Now, if you're talking about the Humpback, that also is a secondary bevel. See that? Now, as far as the Grey Wolf Bushcrafter that I was showing earlier, that I worked to remove the secondary bevel, but I think whoever owned it before me stropped it a lot, so it kind of convexed a bit. All right, let's continue. Continue down the list. Okay, now let's save this one because we just talked about a Papa Bear knife. Let's just grab these two at the same time. If you don't know these ones, these are the Mora High Q. Easily my most used knives over the many years that I've had them, at least specifically this one. This is the carbon steel version. I've done pretty much everything with it. Super light, super handy. Don't have to talk too much about these because they're so iconic and they've been around for so many years. They are out of production now, unfortunately. But I've got the stainless version and the carbon version, kind of relics of the past. So more high Q. Always have a Mora. I know. Yes, the design before they changed them. Actually, that's like what happened with this one too. So this is an old 511. See that? Right? The old 511. This is the new 511. There is a major difference in those two knives. They almost don't seem like the same knife. No, did not become the... So Justin is asking if they became the Mora Companion HD. No, they actually just stopped making them. The closest knife you can get to them is the Mora Companion. I did a comparison video a while back on the two. The difference is the high Q blades are narrower and a little bit shorter than the Companion blades. Right now, I don't know where my Companion knife is. I gave away two of them in our last video, and I can't remember where I put my other one that I have. It's probably in a backpack somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, let's keep digging. All right. This is actually, I'm going to grab this one too because these two are related to each other. This is a Black Feather Journey. This is a newer knife that Joe Honeycutt is putting out. Yes, he does more than Scandi grinds. This is a saber grind with the secondary AEBL steel, kind of a natural canvas micarta handle. So very cool knife. Hey, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Here is another Black Feather Journey. This one is a little fancier, also a newer version. Make sure it's in focus. You can see this one is in Scandi grind with like a convexed secondary bevel. This one he put white and green liners on with black linen micarta handles. As soon as I saw this knife, I knew I had to have it. I'm a big fan of the Journey design because they have a full-size handle with about a 3.5 inch blade. Now, what you'll see as we're going through my collection is an overabundance of this style knife, not this particular knife, but an overabundance of like the full-size handle with around a 3 to 3.5 inch blade. I am a bit of a sucker for that style knife. Honestly, ever since the Journey, when I was in survival training, 2018, I think, I had a Genesis and a Journey. And when my Genesis was so beat up, had chipped a couple places, it was needing some actual repair work. I finished out the course with the little tiny Black Feather Journey and didn't even skip a beat. I mean, it was just fantastic. Speaking of smaller with full-size handles, this is an AA Forge Trout. This has Ghost G10 handles, brown micarta liners, Brown pin, mosaic pin, hammer finish. This is in 52-100 steel, hammer finish, Saber Vex grind with a buffed secondary bevel. And this is another one that's like full size handle, 3 to 3.5 inch blade. Fantastic ergonomics on this one. Almost sold it, withdrew it because I'm like, you know what? It's too cool. It's too cool to let go of, even though I have so many in that size. Yeah, AEBL's great. That size, that like 3.5 to 4 inch, more like 3 to 3.5 inches, pretty ideal for anything as long as you have something larger to work with. I should recognize this one. This is the original Humpback prototype. This is my knife that I designed with the handle that I put on there before Alan and I worked together to kind of improve it and make it right. 8670 steel. I've done a lot with it. Chewed up the spine when I was trying to strike a flint with it. And yeah, getting a nice patina on there. Handle is starting to actually separate from the steel. Just happens with unfinished wood in our climate because we're dealing with high desert. We're just going to do this one too. This is a Blackbird. This is Papa Bear Knives Liberty. Hammer finish, 8670. This is some kind of stabilized cherry handle, I think. Very fancy. This is another one that's just like a perfect all-around knife. It's got an extremely narrow tip. And yeah, it works great. It's got a saber grind, so it's just a great all-around knife for pretty much anything. Yeah. Sheath is great too. I mean, see how deep that carries? There's no way that's coming out. Let's see. All right, let's talk LT Wright. This is LT Wright GNS. When someone asks me for just a great all-around camp knife, most of the time I point them in the direction of something like this. Now, this is a Red Wall special. When I was a member of the Pout House, I got to pick the handle scales and the liners, pick zombie green or toxic green and dark brown, and I think it turned out pretty cool. Saber grind, 01 tool steel, just a great classic knife. I think it's one of those knives that probably everybody should have in their collection because it's such a good shape, good ergonomics, good all-around knife. I mean, the sheath, nice Kydex. Probably one of the best sheaths I've made until I made a sheath for the winner of the last week's giveaway. That sheath is now the better one. Just set this down here. Make some room. All right. Oh, just wait. We barely scratched the surface, Chris. I was talking to my good friend Joe. He's on here right now, Budget Woodcraft Project. Man, I must have like 40 custom knives just with me right here. It's insane. I don't know what's going on. Fiddleback Forge Production Bushfinger. The important thing about this knife is the blade shape is the blade shape, or this blade right here is the thing that I based my design off of. That should tell you how much I like the blade shape on this particular knife. For being such a narrow handle, it is extraordinarily comfortable. And I'm sad to know that they stopped producing these. So this is kind of a relic knife. And yeah, just fantastic. S35 VN, super lightweight, great for backpacking. Does not have a 90-degree spine on it, you know, which is, you know, you could put it on there with some effort. But really, it's just an all-around good camp knife, which is, I think, exactly what they were going for. Yeah, I've got a few on here that I'll show you that are for sale, because same thing. My collection kind of got out of hand. Here's another one. Hopefully you recognize this one. This is a 3-inch hiker from AA Forge, an AEBL, the 332nd spine, nice Scandi grind. It's got thick black liners with yellow and black burlap micarta, G10 pins. This knife right here, honestly, this knife sold me on going for quality, because it's easily one of the most, it was probably the first knife that I held in my hand and I went, this is what a knife is supposed to feel like. And this is what sold me on the size knife. This knife right here, I cannot speak highly enough. Very difficult to get your hands on. Everything about it is like, it's like a woodlore. You know, you look at something like this, it's like a woodlore shrunken down. Nice narrow tip, super ergonomic handle, extremely comfortable and great to work with. And coming from AA Forge, you know you're getting quality. Sheath I made for is a beeswax infused sheath. You can hear the click. I can get the angle right. There you go. Just right here. If I can recommend one knife in this size range, it's a toss-up between that and a black feather journey. Depends really on your handle size, shape, and preference. Hey, more people are joining. This is awesome. Good to have new people. If you didn't know, I'm just going through the collection. At the end, I'm going to do a nice big wide shot, move the camera so that you can just see all of them laid out. But we're trying to blast through this since there's honestly quite a few to get through. Adventure Sworn Mountaineer. This is in burlap with white G10 and orange secondary liners, 01 tool steel. This is the one that took 18, 17 months to get to me. My issue with the Adventure Sworn over on, let's see if I can get it in focus, is this little spot right there. Can you see it right there? That might be what you call the ricasso. Not a knife maker, so I'm not 100% sure, but it's not it's not like this one. If you look at these, see how the Adventure Sworn, I'm looking at my secondary monitor so I can see what you see. See how the Adventure Sworn is broader there or something? It doesn't come to a nice sharp angle. That means as you're cutting and you're getting your stick or something as close to that spot right there, it thickens. It's not sharp there. It's you could say it's unusable. I've forced it through wood, but yeah, not great. Watching while I oil the pearwood fish. Oh, neat. Well, it's great to have you, Dan. John, same with you. Always great to chat with everybody. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's just a stylistic thing. I've seen some other makers do stuff like that. It is on their production versions too. This is the R series production version, 01 tool steel. This is a giveaway knife. So this knife I have not used. I'm going to be giving it away in our 50th episode. I'll be giving this away for whoever wins gets to decide between this knife and the 7 Forge knife. Again, both companies were super generous in sending me these. So these are going to be the two giveaways. You're going to get to pick whoever wins, and then there's going to be a second winner who gets the other knife. It's going to be between the Adventure Sworn in 01 or the Nordic Bushcrafter in 8670. So again, that'll be in the 50th episode. Another live video probably. Okay, another black feather. This is a black feather bush tool. Let's see if we can get this in focus. There we go. 01 tool steel, Scandi ground, welded pommel, natural micarta. I'm finding myself drawn to this style blade shape. The kind of more flat back, rounded, nice belly with a slightly flat portion here. I don't know what that is. Bush tool style. It's kind of more Stahansky method of knife skill. Let the motorcycle pass. Puko, yeah, I mean it's Puko style. I feel like Pukos are, not that this is technically a Puko, but I feel like Pukos are narrower. I'm liking the ones that are slightly more broad, you know, slightly thicker blade, less narrow in this direction, like dangerously close to that edge. Not that that one's super sharp. I don't even know how long it's been since I sharpened it. Black feather, no. Not black feather. I'm going to say all the wrong names. William Collins, WCSK, awesome knife. Probably one of the most overly engineered knives that is also the most functional in my collection anyway. AEBL stainless. Let's see, I've got number 408B, whatever that means. Definitely put it to use. If you were at my fireside chat a couple weeks ago, you would have seen that. Have not done a bow drill with it because, you know, I'm not going to mess up my handles. I have a bow drill socket that I have and I like to use, so no reason to mess up a knife handle. Okay, how we all doing? How we all doing? You know, honestly, that's a good question. So Justin asked, how is this knife to sharpen with so many angles and so many, you know, different places? Technically, all of the bevel is the same exact angle. So as long as you're able to keep it straight on your sharpening surface, you know, kind of one of these, you can actually sharpen it with a flat stone just fine. I like to sharpen with a ceramic rod, something like this. I have a nice long, it's like a good 9-inch ceramic rod from Lansky. I'm able to sharpen this style blade, any kind of recurves, any kind of strange shapes like this one, pretty easily. And honestly, as long as you're maintaining your knife and honing it with something like that, you'll never really need to resharpen it unless you put it through a lot of abuse and don't take care of it in between use. So like I was talking about a Genesis knife that I worked with, the Genesis knife I worked with got completely beat up because I was out in the field for literally 2 weeks, and all I had was like a DC4 field stone. I was able to keep it sharp, but it wasn't like razor sharp like we like. Okay. Speaking of bush tool style knives, here is my Legume. I will always mess up the name because I don't know how to pronounce it. Legume? I always say legume, like a bean. It's not a bean, it's a knife. Nice bright orange G10. I'm not usually a fan of this color, but for some reason on this knife, it doesn't bother me too much. Makes it a little bit heavier having G10 versus micarta. This is the knife that I got in hand because like it was recommended to me by my buddy Joe, Bushcraft Budget Woodcraft Project. Why'd you come up with such a difficult name for me to say? You should be considering my inability to speak properly, my speech impediments. Anyway, so he recommended this knife, and I was like, okay, I'll try it out. It's a rare one to come across, and they actually had them in stock. And I got it in hand, and I was like, man, this is weird. This is uncomfortable. But then I actually used it on a stick, and I was like, oh, I get it now. I get it. This is fantastic. I wear large size gloves, but only because I've got kind of shorter palms and longer fingers. So I often think that like when it comes to glove sizes, I have medium sized palms and large to extra large sized fingers, you know, freaky 8-man hands. And yeah, super comfortable for me. So just notice Adventure Sworn supposed to be a channel. Well, make it a channel. Make Budget Woodcraft Project into a channel. I love the idea. Make it happen. No excuses. You have the technology. um, so the Explorer is thin and sharp all the way back. Now, how old is your Explorer, Chris? Chris says that his Explorer does not do what my Mountaineer is doing, which is that it's not sharp all the way to the handle. It's got kind of a scalloped grind or something like that. How old is it? Because I feel like the newer ones are coming out like this, but the older ones aren't. But I could be wrong because I've never really noticed on the older ones. Native Survival Knife, the NSK. There was one knife I wish was more available for people. It was this knife. You can see where, again, this blade shape, this kind of Puko-esque, bush tool-esque, you've got the more flat back on that spine, a nice straight portion here, and then a nice curve, a nice belly, pronounced. This blade shape, like I said, is becoming one of my favorites. And you'll see a majority of my knives are actually in this blade shape. And it was this knife that sold me on it, this NSK, this particular one, because this is my original version 2 that I got years ago when he first put them out, first set up the new version. I knew I had to get one, so I got on the pre-order. And then I wound up with 2 more of them. So, like, let's see if I can dig in here and find it real quick. I can't find it. We'll get to it eventually. Yeah, if you can get your hands on an NSK, I recommend it. Hands down, get one. So comfortable in the hand. It's got the Woodlore style handle, which is one of my favorites. And it's got the Puko style blade, which is one of my favorites. So you mix those two together and you have a fantastic knife. Speaking of fantastic knives that mix handle shapes with blade shapes, this is a Kahuta Mini Nomad, I think. I don't remember the name of this one. I just saw the handle, saw that it was Woodlore-esque, and I saw the blade shape, which is flat spine, straight spine, nice flat portion, and then a nice pronounced belly. And I was like, oh, you know what? I gotta get it. It's got like a 3 to 3.5 inch blade. Oh, there it is. I gotta get it. So it's very similar in blade shape to the AA Forge Trout, which showed off earlier, but it's got a slightly rounder handle, which makes it a little more comfortable. I think it fills out the hand really nicely. This is a little more woodlore-esque. This is a little more rounded. I mean, they're both super comfortable. But this knife right here, it's beautiful. I want to say it's an A2 steel, but I don't even know if I really found out. I think I just saw it and went, yep, I'll take it. I'll take that one. That's mine. Super happy with that one. Okay, my explorers are the first ones they made, and my newer classics like yours. Okay, so Chris is saying the older Adventure Sworns are kind of like that. John is asking if I am a Scandi guy, Saber guy, or a convex guy. Depends on the situation. For my general use knives, I either like a Saber grind or a convex grind. For specifically wood tasks, I'm going to pick a Scandi grind. I used to be like 100% Scandi all the time, but I think the more I've used knives, the more I'm seeing the benefit of having a flat grind or a convex grind instead of that traditional Scandi. Michael's got a lot of William Collins. That's good. William Collins is great. He's grown a lot over the years, and his prices have gone up quite a bit, but I feel like they're warranted. Like, he puts a lot of effort into like R&D during his knife designs and stuff, and does great work. This is my AA Forge Huko. It's an older one. Maybe had it for going on 3 years. Took it backpacking once. Did some filming with it once. AEBL 332nd. Very pronounced Coke bottle. Almost was slightly uncomfortable at first, so I realized you have to kind of really choke up on that blade, which for some it's kind of scary because there's no guard. Well, it scares me anyway. But it's very comfortable, and I mean, I can't get rid of it. That handle, it's just beautiful. Master birch, stabilized master birch. Let me give you another close-up on that. Just the handle. I mean, just look at that. The copper pins are starting to get green and patina, which is making it seem more rustic. They used to be real shiny. Now they're like a muted copper color. Those handles, man, it's otherworldly. I mean, you just stare at it for days. And it's so silky smooth in the hand. I don't know, I should stop like fawning over this knife. Very cool. AA Forge. This is my first. Is this my first AA Forge? I think it was. I can't remember. It's one of my first. It's the first one I ordered directly from him. I might have bought a used one before then, but this is like the first one I ordered directly from him. Let's see. Man, once again, this little Sloyd knife fell out of its sheath in my box. I'll not even put it in there. If you get one of these more Sloyd knives, just watch out. That it will not stay in that sheath. Let me put it over here. William Collins Master Bushman. Yeah, I see a lot of William Collins designs that I look at and go, man, that would be super cool to get. Like the blood drop, that one looks so cool. And even some of the ones that like, is it Northern Elite? Northwoods? Whatever that other knife designer company is. Some of their designs are really cool too. This is another Sloyd. That one doesn't fall out, so we'll stick that on the table. And the cans bowl, you've all seen cans bowls before. Nothing too fancy. This is generally the one I throw in my fishing kit because it's just, you know, beater knife. ZA Fish. another winner from last week. Welcome back. We're just talking knife collection right now. For those of you who are just joining, just going through them, giving little opinions as I go. If you have any questions about any of these knives or other knives, definitely ask away. I may not have all the knives, but I have a lot, and I've worked with a lot. And even of the ones that I have sitting out here, there's more that I've sold and gotten rid of for whatever reason. So any questions, definitely shoot them out. If I look over here, it's because my screen is over here. Master Bushman. I've never tried a Master Bushman. If I'm being honest, a lot of those knives look very similar to each other. And so I felt like when I got the Blackbird by William Collins, I was kind of getting something based on a lot of those other ones. I know there's slight variations, but you know, there are quite a few similarities to them. This knife is surprisingly agile for being so big. I don't know how else to describe it. Very comfortable in the hand. Very, yeah, agile for being so large. I didn't expect it to be so agile. I thought it'd be like more of a chopping style knife because of the blade length, but it's really not. It's a fine working tool that can also handle a lot of heavy tasks. Sheaths I've made. Yeah, I have shown some sheaths I've made. Yeah, Justin, if you get a chance, definitely try out a William Collins knife. Okay, so John says on the fence, William Ball. Okay, between a William Collins Blackbird and a William Collins survival knife. Yeah, kukri knives. I have both of those, John. I'm assuming your name is John because that's like your handle. I'll just refer to you as John. This is the William Collins survival knife, the WCSK, and this is the Blackbird Master Woodsman. Both are fantastic. I would say that the Blackbird is a little more tame. It's lighter. The survival knife is not the Master Woodsman. The survival knife is definitely a more versatile tool. You can chop with it. It splits a little bit better because of its thickness. And I feel like the handle is a little more comfortable for me because it's a little bit thicker. Again, versatility-wise, this has it made, especially with the different angles and the different like intention behind the design. But the Master Woodsman Blackbird is still a great knife. It's more tame, it's more versatile, not more versatile, it's more tame, it's more basic, quote unquote. And I mean, I think it can do pretty much anything you would need it to do while being lighter, more comfortable to carry for sure. So I guess if you want something you can throw in your pack and can handle everything, you get the survival knife. If you want something a little more comfortable to carry on your hip, you know, you don't need an axe or hatchet replacement. The Blackbird is really good for that. Okay, we're almost, I think we're getting close to being done-ish. Panel material. As Humpback Pockets rolls in, 3 knives you would bring to help you fend off hordes and survive the woods. That's a good question. Thinking fast, I would bring one of my small knives in stainless to do all of my general camp tasks, you know, fish gutting, animal skinning, that kind of stuff. Probably the AA Forge Hiker would be the one I would bring. I would want something with lots of reach to fend off the hordes. jumping ahead a little bit, but so the Shamanese would probably be the other one I would grab. Fighting off zombies. It's got good reach. It was designed with even just a fighting knife in mind. And then I would probably pick, I'd probably pick this knife too, just because I like it so much. This is an AA Forge older design. I don't even know what name it was. He doesn't even make these anymore. If anybody knows what this is. Handle material, yes. Handle material is Sure Touch. Green and black. The green is G10. The black is a rubber. Let's jump back to that real quick. This is Sure Touch, and quite a few companies are using it right now. It adds a lot more grip, does not flex. However, it does rub. So if you're using Kydex or something like that, you do run the risk of rubbing some of the sheath material away. Something thin and long. G10 with rubber inlays. Just checking comments real fast. Yeah, okay, so back to the Shamanese. So I sold my original Shamanese, the one that I filmed with, and I missed it so much that I waited until one popped up on a used group, a used forum, and as soon as one popped up, I snagged it. So this sheath right here, I don't know who made it. If you recognize the maker's mark, you'll have to tell me. It's very ornate. This is not necessarily my style of sheath, but it works really nicely. Here's the thing. Does not hold the knife. This retention strap right here doesn't hold the knife, doesn't do anything. So when I have time, because there's other knives that need sheaths, I will probably be making this one a sheath. Probably another Kydex sheath, like the original one, so that I can take care of that. I don't have any Randall made knives, no. Randall, I'm assuming you mean Essie knives? Like the designer of Essie knives? Yeah, I guess ultimately, yeah, that sheath. Okay, anyway. This is a knife, again, the AA Forge. Man, I don't even know what it's called. And in addition to that, the original owner sent it to AA Forge to get rehandled the thickest that he possibly could. So he put extra thick brown liners on it and extra thick black micarta, and he went as thick as he possibly could. So it is extremely comfortable. And because of that kind of choily looking thing, you can get right up to your work. I mean, right up in there and carve right on the edge. And it, yeah, bought it on a whim because I looked at it and went, you know what? Old AA Forge, I don't even know what steel it is. Doesn't matter. I think it's 52-100. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have any of the old Randall. Yeah, there's quite a few that I don't have. I've kind of stuck to like a few different makers. Big ones are LT Wright, Black Feather, AA Forge. Those are my kind of big three. And then I'm starting to add Papa Bear knives and picking up a couple William Collins. But I mean, for years, my big three, LT Wright, Black Feather Knives, and AA Forge. This is a custom that was made for me. NB Knives, kind of a newer maker, models his knives after a Jacklore because he's a big fan of that design. Everything is by hand. Files. I don't even know if he has any power tools. He uses old like carbon steel files and works them down to the point of them being beautiful handmade work. He's on Instagram, and I mean it's super comfortable in the hand. It's an asymmetrical grip, but that almost adds to the comfort because I'm right-handed. I'm assuming he was right-handed because it fits so nicely in the right hand. Asymmetrical grips. I don't expect them to be comfortable, but man, it's not an excuse for like poor craftsmanship. I think because when you're making it by hand, you can shape it to where it's comfortable. I think that's probably what he was doing. Yeah. Grip is awesome. And I think it's ebony too, if I'm not mistaken. Like ebony wood. Look at that. Can you hear my baby in the background? Oh, I know. Crazy amount of time with the hand tools. It took him a little over a year to make me, but he reached out on Instagram and said he loved my channel, wanted to make me a knife. And I'm like, okay. This is the first time that's ever happened. So I was like, okay. But yeah, awesome knife. Another Papa Bear knives. This is the first knife I got from him. Bought it off of Instagram. ABL steel. A very obvious convex grind. This is a prototype SC3. He has since finished the design, Kephart style, 3-inch blade, 3.5, I think. What, purple? I don't even know. Purple burlap with natural liners. I think those are brass pins or copper pins. Yeah. Even back then, this is 2 or 3 years ago, even back then, Alan was doing great work. And that's basically why I chose him to make my knife. Scandi or convex, my preferred grind. That's depends on the style of knife and what I'm doing with it. I often tell people that when it comes to smaller EDC style knives like this knife, this is a Great Plainsman by LT Wright Knives. I'm going to prefer something like a saber grind or even just a full flat grind because I think that for those small working tasks, you want something very fine, very thin. But for general bushcraft tasks, camp tasks, things like that, I'm probably going to grab something with like a saber grind or a flat grind or a convex grind. The reason that I picked a saber grind for the Humpback is because I feel like it's probably the most versatile middle of the road. If I'm picking a specific survival knife, like designing a specific survival knife, hint, hint, I'm probably going to use a convex, would be my thought. I think the convex is the strongest grind. Scandi is the best for woodworking, for true bushcraft tasking, but I think it's probably one of the more fragile grinds because there's no secondary bevel to give extra strength. So I find by working with a Scandi to make it a convex, it becomes tougher, which I know you true to form Scandi fanatics, convexing a Scandi is a faux pas, but it would happen naturally. Hand sharpening, it happens naturally. You can't help it. And, you know, the original Scandinavian people were convexing their Scandinavian grinds. I guess I'm licensed to do so as well. So yeah, exactly. I mean, Sean says Scandi knives are such a pain to sharpen. I always end up adding an unorthodox micro bevel. I do the same thing, and not necessarily a micro bevel, but more like a micro convex. And any of the knives that you see me use often, because of stropping, because of hand sharpening, wind up having that. I don't have any power tools to sharpen perfectly flat, and I'm not skilled enough to use a stone to make it perfectly flat. So by nature, they wind up convexing just naturally. So if you're listening to my earlier story about my black feather journey, this is the original journey. Back when he was first making knives, probably 5 years ago. 01 tool steel, it's all covered in grease and goop because it started to develop quite a bit of patina on it. Coyote G10, shorter. It's a smaller knife. This is the knife that got me through survival training when my Genesis kind of, it didn't really fail on me, but it was needed some extra TLC. Sold me on the design, sold me on even just Joe Honeycutt as a maker. Extremely comfortable in the hand despite being so small. Again, if you can get yourself a black feather journey, do so. Yep, that was the one in survival training. Still here, still kicking it. Oh, that's funny. So here we go. Let's see if we can focus on this. Recognize that? I hope so. This is a Jacklore. I think it's a classic. Those of you who know Jacklore better than I do will have to correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's some kind of maple burl handle. One of those knives that just never really expected to get, had an opportunity, had to jump on it. One tool steel. He does a double heat treat. It almost looks like this is a thinner stock than he normally uses. Like instead of being like a 5/32, it's more like a 1/8 to 3/32. It's pretty thin. Haven't even used it. Doesn't matter. Got it because it's Jacklore, and I've always wanted one ever since I got started in kind of this bushcraft stuff. As soon as I saw his knives, I'm like, I gotta get one of those one day. So I have nothing to say except they're almost impossible to get. It does look like Buckeye Burl, but I don't know if it is. The person I bought it from said it's some kind of maple burl, like dyed maple burl or something like that. Okay, keep going, keep going. LT Wright, Gary Wines, Hunter. Big knife, 5/32 thick, very capable knife. As far as large kind of frontier style knives go, this is generally what I recommend. Difficult to get a hold of right now because everything is difficult to get hold of right now. Yeah, what can I say? It's classic. It's classic design, classic feel. Another great big knife from another great company. Okay, it's funny because the two on the bottom here, both Genesis knives. Okay, we'll do this one first. So this is a I don't know who Billy Corgan is either. This is a Larry Roberts Genesis A2 steel. The black with white. It's developing a bit of a patina. Nice mirror polish. And while I'm out of focus, another Genesis, but this one is the original Hidden Woodsman first edition with the dark brown with blue liners. This is a rare one. Maybe only, I don't know, a handful of them made. I don't even know. Let's see. Very, very cool to get hold of this one. Classic collector's piece if you're into Hidden Woodsman and LT Wright, which I'm into both. I have a lot of Hidden Woodsman gear, like 5 or 6 backpacks, haversacks, the whole 9. So to have first edition Genesis, awesome. I can beat up that Genesis if I need to beat up a Genesis. All right, a recent acquisition, actually just a few days ago, that I am so excited about. Oh, talk about this knife first. Simple Bear EDC. Simple Bear's EDC. Check out that Kydex. It's like camper map Kydex. All right, so this is in CPM 154, Simple Bear's EDC. Very predominant Scandi grind, very thick stock. I mean, that's at least 5/32, maybe even going close to 1/4 inch. Handle is oatmeal burlap with orange liners. It's surprisingly comfortable for being such a thin handle, and that's because it's nice and thick in this direction. He has it set up as a neck knife. Honestly, I don't do neck knives. They just kind of swing around and they pull on my neck too much. Yeah, as an EDC pry bar, it really is. And with Alan's heat treat, I wouldn't be surprised if he could use it as a pry bar. Let's see, what else have we talked about? Talk about this guy. Hopefully, you all recognize this. Anybody recognize this? There's no maker's mark. No maker's mark. I'm going to see if anybody recognizes this. Comes with a system. The sheath has a nice big Ranger band with a ferro rod on one side and a sharpening stone thing. I think it's a diamond stone on the other side. Let's see. This is not a, did you say it's a holy Bushman? I don't even know what a holy Bushman is. This is an Andal tool, Canadian forest knife. And it's one of the originals. It's not an LT Wright. This is made in Canada by James Andal, I think is his name. One of the original ones because it has an exposed pommel. He started doing that at the beginning, and then he put the micarta over top of it with like his next rendition of it. Morse Kahansky had heavy influence in this design. He would often wear either this one or a Skookum Bush tool, or some of his other Mora knives. So I've been on the hunt for something like this, for this exact knife actually, for almost 2 years when he stopped making them. And just the other yeah, maybe a week ago, someone reached out to me on Bushcraft USA and said, hey, I have one that I might sell. And I was like, I'll take it if you do. So yeah, so happy to get one. It is well worth the wait. Handle is so comfortable. I can see why Morse Kahansky used it. It's going to be difficult to decide between using this one and a lot of the other knives. But this is similar to that bush tool, except that there is no flat portion. It is a continuous curving belly. You can see that, right? Continuous curve, kind of a gentle arc on the back spine. So slightly different than a Puko, definitely more bush tool styled. But yeah, super excited about that one. And that's the box is empty. The only thing left are some little accessories, and got like a native survival ferro rod. And these boxes back here I have not opened, but they kind of carry doubled up knives or special knives. So like this one, this is one of the original black feather bush tools that I got years ago, before he kind of shut down his shop for a while. This one took a while to get to me. Yeah, everything about that Andal tool, love it. This is one of the first sheaths I put together. I had intended to make like a pocket for EEC stuff, but it wound up being so narrow and so difficult to fit stuff that it's more of an accessory than anything else. And this is squeaky leather. So there's that one. What's this one? I think I know what's this one. The other native survival knife. This one is in the green with Coyote G10. Another NSK. Which means here's the other NSK. Other NSK. Other. All the same. This one has a slightly thicker handle than the rest, I've noticed, but that's okay. You know, got three. Problems with belt knives in public? You got to get to a different state if you do. Idaho. Nobody even cares. Yesterday, no, not yesterday. Over the weekend, I had to go over to the Verizon store because, well, our internet went down. So we're at the Verizon store, and a guy is in there, completely open carrying. Had to be like a Glock 19 or something like that. Super, super sweet setup. Just right there on his hip. Didn't even bother anybody. Nobody even noticed, really. That's Idaho. All right, this is a black feather black lore. It's an RWL 34 steel. Ironwood handles. Only one ever made, according to the person I bought it from, which is a trusted friend of mine. So before you say, well, of course he's going to say that. Trusted friend of mine. Joe Honeycutt didn't do a lot in RWL. Did a couple, but none of them with just straight up ironwood like that. Yeah, nobody cares about guns around here. And I think the last one of my collection, black feather, another black feather. This is the Woodsman. This is a knife that I had sold a long time ago and regretted instantly. Mine was a natural micarta. This is green micarta with like green liners. It's very faint. You might be able to see some liners there. Basically mixes the bush tool blade with the woodlore handle and does it super well. 01 tool steel, black feather knives quality, awesome knife. Had to complete my black feather collection in my mind. I know he has other models that he makes, but there's always the bush lore, the black lore, the bush tool, and the woodsman, and then the journey. Okay. Can you see them all? That was all of the collection. There we go. That was all of it. Now, this bag right here, I am selling a few, and I can tell you why. If you look at the table, you'll see why I am selling a few. Let's see. You guys are going to have a gathering without me. That's fine. You know what? Well, as long as you don't brandish, don't freak out. First off, anybody want to buy the Adventure Sworn Classic R series with the camo G10? This one is in CPM S35VN. Used it a little bit to test and film with. I'm going to be selling this one. And then also selling, anybody who wants to try a black feather, I have a black feather junior woodsman, an AEBL that I am looking to sell. Never even used it. Nothing wrong with it. Handle is extra thick. Green Sure Touch. Just have so many knives in this size range. Just never really used it. I could use it, but like I said, I have so many in this size range. I just would rather someone else who wants to try it out and get their hands on a black feather knife, get a hold of it. And then last of all, for those of you who want a black feather knife, this is a black feather journey, shockingly. Some kind of acrylic handle material. This knife has kind of bounced around in the community for a while, since it was one of those ones that he sold skeletonized and was rehandled by someone in kind of the knife community. And then it kind of got sold and moved around a bunch. So anybody else wants to take this off my hand, again, got those 3 knives. Reach out to me if you want one. Email is contact@survivotech.com. If you want to know pricing and stuff like that, because you're my subscribers and my friends, I'll give you a good deal. But really, it's kind of got to recoup, because in all honesty, I'll tell you straight up, I've got like 3 more knives still on the way. They aren't here yet. 3 more that are on the way. I'm getting a couple knives from Wood Steel Knives, and I'm also getting a knife from Battle Horse Knives. So 2 companies that are not represented on my table, getting a knife from each. So long waits on the Battle Horse knife. Yeah, long wait for sure. I've been waiting a while for the knife from Wood Steel Knives, but not extremely long. Let's see if we can zoom in on this. Pretty insane, isn't it? Now, anybody have, sorry, in the way. Anybody have any big questions about any of these knives you see on the table? Now's the time to ask, because we're going to probably end this in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Wood steel knives is, let's see, so snake eater, yes, one of those is going to be a snake eater. The other one is going to be one of his EDC style knives, just with the simple saber grind. Talking with him about trying to get more content of his on the channel. Let's see, what's wood steel? I'll have a link in the description to wood steel knives for you, Sean. These, what, BHK? So I'll be getting a, I gotta move the camera because, oh, let's see that. Okay, that's a little better. Okay. Let's see, BHK, I'm going to get I'm on the order for a Scout Platoon. I used to have one, and it's going to sound funny, but I really bought it specifically so I could make a sheath for it. Because I really wanted something where I could do a retention like this that actually worked. So that's why I ordered it. So BHK Scout Platoon specifically so I could make a leather sheath for it. I'm weird that way. I like practicing with leather. Let's see if I can make camera computer so it's not so weird me looking over like this. Yeah, I had a feather stick. I think I bought your feather stick, Joe. Let's see, Kepler style folder. Recouping from this is an impossibility. I mean, let's be honest here. You're right. This is probably like easily, well, $3,000 worth of knives right here. How much did I tell the missus you spent on all those? Well, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking. I'm going to ignore that. Can you have a journey for your birthday? When's your birthday? Yeah, I often get recommended Dutch bushcraft knife, like their channel and my channel. We often get, they don't even know I exist, but I often see my videos popping up on the suggestion feed. Dutch bushcraft knives. Okay, I have had Bark River knives in the past, just have never really been a fan of their handles. They're too thin for me. They're too awkward. The only handle I really liked was on a Bark River Bravo 1.5, I think I tried. That was a comfortable handle, but I've tried an Aurora, I've tried a Bushcrafter, and they never fit my hands right. My wife has a ultralight Bushcrafter and an Aurora LT. She likes them, but she's got lady hands, so that's just me. If anybody has a Bark River that they think I would enjoy, having looked at the style of handle that I prefer, let me know. And Faulkniven, I've just never, I've thought about getting an F1. That's the one that I've thought about getting, but I just never really pushed the purchase button. Let's see. Nice. Good old Martin and Mickey. So Bravo 2, that is a big knife. Like I thought about getting a Bravo 1 or a Bravo 1.25. Maybe even a Bushcrafter 2. That handle might be a little bit nicer. Because like I've tried their JX6, one of the the Prepared Mind 101 lines, and I like that one. But I kept selling it because again the handle was just not quite right. Let's see. The Bravo is supposed to have a legendary handle. I've never held one though. Neither have I. The Shining Mountain Bowie. Yeah. I would go rampless because I like the traditional look. No, I've never heard of Bone Valley Co knives. Dark River handle size. Yes, that is a good point. I can definitely say that all of this was just to build content on YouTube and get sponsorships. Actually, as far as sponsorship go, at one point I was sponsored by LT Wright. So, I mean, technically, a lot of these did help get that sponsorship, especially the LT Wright knives. JX6. Yeah, I've thought about getting another JX6 or getting on the list for one, but do you see this pile? See this pile? I'm like, even if you used one a month, it would still take 2 years to get through all of them. Oh, it's insane. All right. I think we're going to have to end it here. Pile needs to grow. You know what? It is. It's on. Going to get 3 more. 3 more on the way for sure. 3 more are already on the way. And there's already ones that I'm scoping out from new makers that I've never worked with before. So, yeah, this pile is probably going to keep growing. It's like that. It's like what is it? Is it Hydra? The Hydra thing? Cut off one head, 2 more replace it. Oh, you still have that JX6? Woodlore and a Kephart together. That sounds interesting. The knife that would be my end game. Probably the one that I buy on my deathbed before I'm murdered for buying too many knives. That would be my end game knife, which could just be another Mora. I mean, at a certain point, you've just outspent your lifespan. The cool thing is, though, at this stage, I have enough invested in this that I can sell like 5 or 6 for, a car repair or some big camera purchase and still have plenty to work with. That is kind of the nice thing. That's honestly how I've gotten like the Jacklore. It was a very expensive knife, even, on the used market. The only way I was able to buy that is by selling like 3 other knives. And that's kind of been the case with a lot of these. It's like at this point, because there's so many to work with, anytime I want a knife, I just like sell 2 or 3 of them, barely even miss them because I didn't even notice. And then there you go. I've got enough to buy another knife. Oh, helicopter's going over. What folding knife do I carry? Someone finally asked. With all of these knives, what folding knife do I carry? The folding knife that I carry most often is a Swiss Army knife. I actually don't really have any folding knives. I have one folding knife. I have an Opinel number 8, which I don't even know where it is. I think it's in my backpack. And I have like a K-Bar Dozier blue handle with some brown thing. I don't even use it. It came with I bought a big thing of outdoor gear, like a starter kit, in order to get a few pieces of equipment that I wanted, and it just was part of it. But yeah, I mean, a Swiss Army knife, I've had it since I was a kid. I think it was one of the first knives my dad bought me. So it's the one I carry most often. when I want a folding knife, but more often than not, I have a Leatherman or something similar to that with me, either in the side pocket of my backpack or in like one of my haversacks or something like that. I just think versatility wise, they're pretty great. See, that's a common misconception, that a good way to gain subscribers is trying to survive a year in the woods with literally nothing else but a pack filled with 30 knives. Yeah, as far as my like understanding and knowledge of knives, this is why I'm not a reviewer. I don't really consider myself a reviewer. I'm a tester, user, just enthusiast, really hobbyist, um, kind of a tinkerer of knives and sheaths and such. I don't really know much about steels. I don't really know much about designs and makers and what's available out there. Like I said, for most of my time, it was either LT Wright, Black Feather, or Mora, and then added A Forge, and then added William Collins, and then added Papa Bear knives. It's really just like, it's a very little knowledge on steel. O1, A2, they were my main steel for years. And it was only more recently that I got ABL, and then I think even now it's A1 O or A2 or O1 or ABL is all of them. I'm trying to think if I have any other knives, and 8670 and 52-100 would be the other two that I've just recently gotten. But yeah, as far as A1 and or A2 and O1 have done me just fine. CPM S35 VN has been a steel that I've messed around with a bit. But yeah, American knife maker who can repair or modify on other knife brands. That's a good question. I don't know of. I would say any of the custom knife makers who especially are just starting out would probably be fine messing around with other people's knives. But the danger you run into is kind of like the messing with someone else's heat treat combined with maybe messing with someone else's designs. Some makers don't feel comfortable with that. I remember I was talking to LT Wright actually on the phone. That was kind of cool. Anybody else notice that he sounds like that one actor, John? Is it John? What's his name? John Goodman? Is that his name? Let me just see. John, if I'm thinking of the right. Yeah, John Goodman. Anybody else notice that LT Wright kind of sounds like John Goodman? Is that just me who thinks that? Anybody else notice that? Anyway, I was talking to LT Wright on the phone, and he was basically like, because a design is pretty much set by the designer, the maker doesn't like to mess with that because it's kind of abusing their design. But I know there are quite a few in the different communities that I'm not aware of. So that's a long-winded answer to say, yeah, I actually don't know anybody who would modify someone else's knife design. I would recommend maybe asking on one of the Facebook groups or one of the outdoor forums that is not specific to a maker or company. So like the Living to Learn community that I'm part of, or Spirit of the Woods, or Midwest Bushcraft, Backwoods Woodcraft. I don't know, Southeast Bushcraft back, one of those. I don't even remember. Yeah, something like that. Let's see, super steel and a bushcraft style knife. How much of a performance boost unless you have the right thin grind? Yeah, that's true. All right. Hopefully, yeah, he has a narrator's voice. I've thought about like doing podcasts and having people interview on these podcasts. And yeah, I would definitely try to get him on just because his voice is so soothing. All right. Questions are answered. Episode 48 of Blade Talk Tuesday, I'm going to say is over. It's been an hour and a half. I'm hungry. Family's hungry. Baby's screaming at me from inside. So I want to thank you so much. All of you have been so wonderful and supportive. And like I said, I hope I say it every time. I just appreciate you so much. And I keep doing these videos, honestly, just because you're still here watching me. Like, it shocks me every time to think that, you know, people want to take time out of their day to watch little old me mess around with a camera. So you guys are awesome. I will keep doing it. Yeah, low viewer count, but I don't care. I mean, I don't do this for subscribers. I don't do this for views. I do this for the community. I do this because I enjoy talking about knives with you people, you guys and gals. If there are any gals out there who watch these videos. 100,000 subs in 3 weeks challenge. That would be insane. I don't even know how that would work, but that is a great goal. A crazy goal. All right. In the future, I will see you again. We're going to talk more about knives next week and then round things out on episode 50, do a big giveaway, another live, probably, most likely. So I will see you in the next one. Thanks all. Take care.